Maybe? How's it now? Oh my gosh. Ah, my life. Is it better? Is it better? Is anybody there? Is it better? Oh, it's better. It's better. I heard it. I heard it. Is anybody? It's there. Okay, good. Ah. Whew. Ah. Okay, cool. All right, we need to get started. Hi, everybody. I'm Nico. It's nico.radio. Okay, I don't have time to do all that. We first needed to get something out of the way. And it's not out of the way. It's in the way. It's perfectly in place. Okay, first off, I need to pull it up and make sure everybody can hear it. But we have a special celebration today. Okay? Can you hear it? Can you hear? I want to make sure. Yeah, you can. All right, here we go. Ready? 1. Sing it with me. You'll know it as you sing it. And we can sing it after, too. All right, but here we go. Ready, steady. Guys, gals, everyone, it's Antonina's birthday. Happy birthday, Nina! Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Antonina. Happy birthday to you. How about that guitar, too? Killing. Happy birthday to our OG. How many weeks now? 8 weeks we've been doing this, and she has been our queen, and she's been killing it every week, and this week she's got a huge surprise for you. But how old are you now? Like, what? I could guess, but I don't want to. Superstar, happy birthday. I hope you had the most splendid day, and thanks for wasting 1 hour of your day to learn Logic Pro with nico.radio. So everybody put some hearts in the chat. Go ahead, press that heart button as hard as fast as you can. Here we go. Happy birthday, Antonina. Okay, so we're gonna get started here in a few seconds. I just need everybody to do me this favor. We are gonna go to this link. I'm gonna type it here somewhere nice and pretty. Hold on. Because today, 22. I'm 22. Crazy. Okay, so we're gonna do this thing. I need you to go to this link if you want to follow along. Look, you could just watch, and I'm here to tell you one thing for certain. You probably know more than I do, or what I'm about to teach. Specifically you, Dominic, you're too stinking good at all of production. Audio, your audio has been amazing every single week. So you might sit there and be like, yeah, I know this. This is boring. And I'm just gonna give you a few of my insights, a few of my tips. If you want to follow along with me in Logic Pro, I think that's the best thing to do. So I'm gonna pull this up here. I want you to go to this link if you can, bit.ly/Nico Mixing Session 101. I'm gonna copy that and put that in the chat here. I'm glitching. Am I glitching again? Here. It's glitchy at the top, isn't it? What's wrong with my screen? Am I okay? Do I look okay? Somebody tell me. It looks okay on my phone. Okay, it's just my computer. Okay, so everybody got that link? I think it worked. So you could download our files from there. Oh, Jacob, you're gonna enjoy it anyway, I promise. I'll make it apply to everyone, okay? Okay. So if you want to follow along in Logic, that's fine. If you want to follow along in your DAW, Digital Audio Workstation, you are welcome to do that too. But here's what we're going to start off with. This is your Logic station, right? Your digital audio workstation. I think one of the best things you can do is, okay, some people don't have it. That's fine. Well, let's just talk, okay? We can have some fun. What? Okay, you can hear that. So, today we're going to be mixing 8 measures of, well, this is just going to be extremely educational and pointless if you don't have it, but I'm going to make it as best I can for all of you. And I'll even throw this in here to prove that I care about all of you. There I am. And now I'm going to go in the bottom right corner, and I'm going to hide right down here to prove that I'm still here and I still care about all of you. Okay, so once we get here, Logic Pro is created by Apple, and it's kind of been the standard for the easiest digital audio workstation. It's kind of like the most intuitive. If you've used GarageBand, you've used Logic Pro, but just a very basic version. I highly recommend making my screen look like, or your screen look like my screen. And the best way to do that is to use, go to Settings in the top left, Preferences, General. This will come up, and you want to go to Advanced and show Advanced Tools. Because at Berkeley, you know, at Berkeley, that's what it's going to be like. You got to be able to have the advanced tools set up just so you can access everything. Now, Logic Pro has added a few little things here, like they've added this. It's a little sequencer, step sequencer. But we're going to mostly be using what we call as the timeline, or the line, the strips. Now, I could go through the whole entire screen here, but Logic is kind of going to be what you need to use. I mean, sometime in your life. Pro Tools is very similar to this, but it's a lot more advanced. GarageBand is way more basic. Ableton has come around to look a lot like this, but Ableton was mainly used by DJs first, so it's kind of like not so much production like this. So anyway, you guys can just tell me what you want to learn, but I'm going to be talking today about how to set up a basic mix track, right? Mixing is the most important part. Obviously the song has to be good. Let's call that number 1, writing and producing the song. And that means choosing the right instruments, picking the right notes, the melodies, the harmonies, the lyrics, all of the above, and finding the instrumentations, right? Then the next step would be mixing. You got to make sure all of those instruments, notes, rhythms, harmonies, melodies, all fit into place. And they have to fit in a stereo sound, because we don't listen with one earphone, or some of us do, I don't know. We listen with both, right? So it's a stereo sound, okay? So that's the mixing stage. And then finally, they call this thing mastering. It's the final stage. Ultimately, if I'm just to summarize mastering for 5-year-olds, mastering is just making it sound louder on all devices. But really what it does is make sure it's going to sound good everywhere. It kind of standardizes the sound and makes sure it fills in those gaps, makes it as full as possible. But let's just talk about Logic, because a lot of you probably have MIDI keyboards. Who has a MIDI keyboard? Throw it in the chat. Throw what MIDI keyboard you have in the chat. Yeah, a lot of this, you can find a lot of this stuff on YouTube too. Dom, I'm totally with you. Ableton makes 0 sense to me. I spent hours trying to, and it's nothing. So anyway, while we're waiting for everybody to tell me what MIDI keyboards they have, what setups they have, just drop your setups in the chat. And I know you do, Dom. You have like that cool one that's like, it feels like just a flat piece of metal, and then like, it's cool. You put it in one of your videos and you went, hi Atticus, how are you? Good to have you here. MPK Mini. This one. This is a good one. Okay, this right here, $99, I think. And it has 8 pads, which most musicians think they need because they light up, and they never do. The more lights, the more colors, the better musician you are. That's always the rule. But the cool thing it has is like a pitch bend tool and a a modulation tool. So that's really cool. Also has these, and that's for automation. Basically, you can automate what knobs, these little knobs, as you turn them, they can turn the volume up or make it wavier or add tremolo or chorus, whatever. And then obviously the keyboard, right? It has octave buttons. That's a good thing to have. Now this is MIDI. You plug these into the computer and it sends numbers. It just sends data, numbers and data. And it says, I'm pressing key 115, all right? And it plays note 115 on the computer. You really don't have to know all those numbers and stuff. But, oh, they raised the price. Dom, you're right. And then they have like a red and a black version, but I just have like the basic. But anyway, yeah, this is kind of like one that'll get you through the first year at the college that you're going to, which will remain nameless. But if you're going to be an arranger on the go, this is your go-to. They even have a smaller version, which is just the keyboard. If you're going to be somebody who likes to play their own piano parts of songs, you're going to look into a 49 keys. And this is a 61 key, I think? Yeah, a 61 key behind me. Alesis makes some good ones. I kind of taped over the Alesis part right here, but yeah, get a MIDI keyboard. It's a good way to get started, and you can plink out chords on here. We won't be doing any of MIDI today, but I will teach you how. Okay, so then the next thing you might need if you're a vocalist or an instrumentalist, you know, an audio, I guess. I don't know how to put it. If you play something like this, I'm afraid. So, if you play like a trumpet or any, you know, acoustic instrument, you might want to look into a mic. And there's two types of mics that you could buy. The one I'm talking into right now is a condenser mic that requires phantom power, right? Phantom power, like it's a button that kind of preamps your microphones. And then dynamic microphones. These are the ones that you sing out in public, the ones you grab, like a typical microphone, open mic night style. Those are not preamped, right? They're just always receiving signal, and they're mainly cardioid, not they're not omnidirectional. They're kind of just one on. So, see, this is what I'm doing. I'm not using the real terminology. I'm just trying to be real with you. But anyway, having a microphone and then an audio interface. That's the final step. An audio interface is probably the most important part to recording audio. So you could get these little tracks here, right? These are all audio tracks, and you want to be able to record your instruments. And I can't really lift mine and show you. I could lift my... Okay, wait. That's an audio interface. That's two audio interfaces. But basically you plug in XLR cables or instrument cables and you record your sound. You connect all of that to Logic, and with any other program it's pretty hard to connect them, but with Logic it automatically detects them and is like, yep, I know what we're recording. Cool. Okay? So then, the Logic setup right here. This is a lot to remember, but I'm trying to take it kind of digestible, right? This is all stuff you'll learn at Berkeley. You're going to have at that college, and you're going to be learning quite a bit about signal flow and all of that. But let's talk about the Logic workboard here. All these buttons at the top you can customize, but you're going to have one called the library. You click on this one here, and it shows you all of the different instruments that you can choose from. So for example, if I'm going to choose an instrument, first of all, I want to teach you how to add a track, right? So we're going to press that little plus button here, kind of in the work zone. This is like writing notes on a piece of paper right here. So we'd go to plus, and then we'd pick what we want. Do we want to record a software instrument, which is a computer, MIDI, an audio instrument? These ones I wouldn't recommend using, but yeah. Okay, so you only need these two. Software instrument. Now from here, you can always have a default patch or whatever, but I like to have an empty channel strip, right? We want to start fresh. When you create that, this will pop up on the left, the library. And that's where you can pick from all of the MIDI instruments. You'll have to download them by pressing these little arrows here. But let's say we want a piano. We can pick which pianos we want from there, click it, and then it'll load up on that track. If you have a MIDI... I'm trying so hard. I don't want to... It's a long story. Anyway, but yeah, you want to have a MIDI keyboard set up so that as soon as you pick your instrument, you can start plinking it out and hearing it, okay? So that right there is picking an instrument. The next step would be this right here. It's like information about the track. I don't know, I think that's what that I means. But it shows you what track is selected on the left. See how it's going to change? Bass. Hi-hat, down in the bottom left, it says keys, kick, snare. This basically tells you what track you're working on, okay? And then to the right, that hardly changes. It's like the master. It's like what you're hearing in your earphones if we put all the tracks together. What does default patch versus empty channel mean? Yeah, great question. You can set a default patch. Basically like, okay, I'm really eager to get started recording something and I want to always have a piano ready. So when I click create, boom, I have a piano. So you can always pick your own default patch. I think you could do that from one of these things. But yeah, empty channel strip just means when I get started with a strip, like a channel or an instrument, it'll be empty. And I can go over to my library and choose any one of them. Default is just going to be, hey, we're going to give you something so that you can immediately get started. And then if you want to change the instrument later, you could do so. So yeah, everybody's default instrument's going to be piano. Mine stays the same, and it makes sense, right? Okay, anyway. Keep these questions up. Chloe, thank you. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so if you downloaded the track, right, the file, which is right here. Let me do this. If you downloaded the file, these are what you call in the real world stems. Stems, tracks, whatever you want to call them, but stems, that's what Berkeley, that's what most musicians in the world call them. Man, this is tough. I want to cry. Okay, so basically what you could do with your stems, the easiest way with Logic is to just drag them in and drag them into your, to your timeline, right? So that's what I did here. You just drag them and then it might ask you, do you want to make existing tracks, add as new tracks, blah, 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 right? Well, you can make up your own mind, but I think we should use create new tracks, right? And then you want your screen to look just like mine, okay? I'm gonna wait a few seconds. Anybody who already knows this stuff want to talk in the chat, say hi to me. We can have side conversations. Dom, you're starting to commentate my life again. That's great. I do. I definitely feel a little empty, but I will say this. And this is moral of the story, lesson of life. I have to get big here for a second. It's motivational Nico time. Everybody likes to say you are where you come from and stuff. You know, those weird senior-esque, I'm from my roots, my hometown. I made it from, Ohio strong and stuff. That's good. That's good sentiment. But truth is, you are who you are. That's what Kesha said once. But no, it's true. You can't let moments and things in life decide who you are. I mean, in the end, you are who you are. And I'm having a very challenging time right now discovering who I am, right? And I am something besides that place. Everyone is. Everyone is something besides the place that they come from. But I do love my home, and I do love my college. Two things that I really am so grateful for. So, Boardman, Ohio, that Berkeley College of Music, yeah, I love it both, but I'm Nico, I shouldn't have to be Nico from Boardman, Nico from Berkeley, Nico from nico.radio. I can be Nico, and I hope that I'm always real with you, okay? Anyway, let's keep going. So yeah, got a couple good questions here. Will this be saved on Facebook? Yeah, it will. It should be, I'll make it part of our series in a playlist. What are my plans post-college? This. Are you in the multi-track template? If you're referring to a Logic template, no, I'm not. I just use my own template. I kind of start fresh. I think you can select an option, like when you start new, it'll say like start from fresh, I don't know, or start with no tracks, I forget. New from template? No, I just choose new, blank slate. And the first thing that comes up, Nico from Nico. You press plus, and that's the first thing that shows up. But anyway, we got 6 tracks here, right? Let's keep it rolling. First of all, you can listen to this. I'm going to let everybody who's not on Logic listen to this. This is one of my originals. It's probably my favorite original. It's called Make It. This is what I recorded 2 years ago in the summer. What you want, I give you. Put on the map just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need this to make it. They can try and take me down just so they can rule this town. I may not be a great fit. I don't need this to make it. Okay, so you heard that. That is the most basic form of the stems, right? I did nothing to those tracks. Not even over here. Even though I have it started, I did nothing to those tracks. Okay? So you can always press play at the top. A good little shortcut is to just press spacebar and it'll start playing from measure 1. These are measures at the top. See that? 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all measures and they're at a tempo. And you can select the tempo up here. We've started at 92 beats a minute, but you can change that. Now here's the thing. It does not change the speed of the song, right? The stems are still going to sound the same. What you want, I give you, put on the map. But Nico, we changed the tempo. Well, that's the thing. If you changed MIDI, it would play at a different tempo. But these aren't MIDI tracks. These are audio tracks, right? What you want, I give you. So we can change the tempo of MIDI tracks. Let me get real advanced with you here. If you want to change the tempo of audio tracks, you can do this thing called flex and follow. And what it'll do is automatically detect the tempo of your tracks, right? You have to select them all. You don't have to do this right now, but it's a cool thing in Logic. It automatically detects the tempo of your tunes, and then what you want, I give you. Put on the map, just to do what you got. But we don't want that. So let's say you do something like that where you make a couple changes and you don't like it. Just go to edit, undo. It brings back the tempo, undo. It turns off flex and follow. And now what you want, we're back to normal. How do you pull up the window with the stems? Do you mean, yeah, Rabbit Nico, I know. You mean like the folder? I just dragged them in, but you can also do that with the right over here. This thing over here, I think the icon in the top right, I can't zoom in, can I? Ugh. This is tough. I can't zoom in. I don't even know what I'm doing. Wait, I can zoom in. Nope, this is work. This is not work. Okay, so these little things in the top right. This one here will pull up a library of your stems. And you can drag them into there. If you ever need them, you could just drag them over in. But yeah, that's that. You can always put notes here, but who does that? Lyricists. And then this tells you what you've changed in MIDI, you know, in everything you've done. But you really don't need those two. You might have another one. Let me pull mine up. Wherever it is, I cannot find it. Oh, there it is. You might have this one called Apple Loops. This is a great way to get started with writing music. They have so many looped chords, rhythms, melodies, harmonies, blah, 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 of different styles too. And you can drag them in. Like, for example, let's see. We want to add a tambourine. You can search for a tambourine. Let's get one. Nope. Okay, that one sounds like it might be good with us. All right, so then what you do with the loop, the Apple loop, and trust me, these are actually pretty good. Do you want to know something? Fun fact of the day. Ready? Fun fact of the day. Empire State of Mind, the Jay-Z version with Alicia Keys, you know, that was made with an Apple loop. One of the like most known beats in the world was made with an Apple loop, which says they're pretty good. So what you do with an Apple loop is you drag it in, and then you'd loop it. Now, once you drag it in, it's pretty easy. But looping is where it gets a little challenging. We can zoom in, so let's get rid of this. See these things in the oh, you're not looking at anything. I hate this. I'm so bad at this. I need help. Okay, so let's see. Fit to screen. Okay, so see this in the top right under Apple Loops. There's a little button, and you can drag these two around to show you, the height of your tracks, and then you can drag these to see the length of them, how much you're seeing on the screen. So try to make yours look exactly like mine here. So we want to see, you know, the big stems, right? You want our stems to look pretty large. And then you want to make them kind of fit across the screen. We're only working with 8 measures, all right? So try to make yours look like mine. I'll talk in the chat for a few seconds. Anybody who's following along. How was everybody's day? Antonina, how was your birthday? Brian, I'm waking up at 6 a.m. How are you? Those are fat. They are fat stems. Hey, Atticus, I know you're in the chat. If you are, you should perform for open mic night. All you have to do, ask everybody in the chat. Go ahead, ask us. Everybody's gonna put the link as soon as you ask us. All right, we'll wait for you to ask us. But as soon as you ask, how do I submit for open mic? Everybody's gonna drop the link, okay? So stems is just another word for the audio files you're working with. Yes, yeah. In the professional audio world, we'd call them stems. Now, think about this. When you listen to, I don't know, an MP3 file, or when you listen to a song in full, I think we can actually do that with this song. We're gonna get like copyright because nico.radio filed for nico.radio. What was that? Somebody stole our thing. Okay, but like we'd call this the master, the audio file, the one where you can hear all the instruments at once.
Pictures of your body parts to get you thinking wrong or right, and how the future of this planet ain't so bright.
All the audio tracks are at once. We'd call that the final bounce, the master, right? But when you solo each instrument, that's called a stem. Basically, it's only one instrument in the track, and some stems are multiple. So you might have bass left, bass right. Well, it would really be piano left and piano right for a left microphone and a right microphone, right? You want each microphone or each source to have its own track so that you could do crazy things like EQing and, you know, compressing, which we're going to do in a few minutes. Okay? So, now that everybody's kind of got this looking, all right, this set up, I want to teach you a couple things. We're going to loop, or we're just going to repeat. We're going to repeat a region. What you can do is start at the measure that you want to start repeating, right? So that would be measure 1. Press and hold and drag. And now we're going to repeat these 8 measures over and over. Okay? To deactivate that, you just click it. To reactivate, you just click it, right? So this kind of tells us what we're working with. What are we working with? We're working with this. And you can click it. Okay? Now at the top, you have the play. Nobody really uses rewind. You might use this one, which resets the playhead. This is what you call a playhead. If you've arranged in Finale, they also have a playhead, but this tells you what's playing. It's the playhead. Head is like the top, number 1. This is what's playing right now. And it really goes fast too. But you can drag your playhead wherever you want or just click where you want it, right? Up top. You can't just click down here. It won't work. You have to click up here. So this is kind of like your ruler, right? You got to pick what measure you're on and where you want to start, and then you press play. And see, if it's looping, it's always going to start at the start of the loop. This adds a metronome, and then when you record, this adds a count in. But this is stuff you'll all learn through experimentation, and I highly recommend you experiment with it. Okay? Finally, let's look at our tracks here in full. These look like volume knobs, right? Now we're not going to hear the bass. I'm going to just mute this for now, but we're not going to hear the bass in the track now.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the map just to live. What you got is what you give.
Hear that? Okay, so you can drag these to adjust the volume, but don't do that until we're ready to, right? Yeah, if you use Ableton correctly, like, or not correctly, but there's no correct way. If you use Ableton with the horizontal mode instead of the vertical tracks, yeah, it is ultimately the same. It's just different buttons and different meanings. Now, let's say we don't want to hear the bass right now. You can always press M to mute it or S to solo it. Mute, M, solo, S. R stands for recording, record enabled, right? So let's say we had our bass play. Let's say Jacob was gonna kill it for bass on us. All right, he was gonna come over. He's gonna plug his bass in and say, "All right, I'm ready to record." We'd press R on that track. Mine says no import selected right now, but we'd put R on the track. Now Jacob wants to hear himself playing at the same time, right? So we're gonna make sure we have input monitoring. The I stands for input monitoring, but this is all big terms. Too much right now. Too much. It's okay. Okay? And then you have your pan too. Think about in the real world, if we had a band in front of us, right? Not always will the bass player be standing right in the middle of the stage. In fact, the vocalist is usually right in the middle of the stage. It's the most important part to some songs, right? So maybe we have the bass player standing on the left. So we drag this over to make the bass sound more in our left ear instead of our right ear. Cool? That's stereo sound. An invention in the 1950s? Maybe? I don't know. I was supposed to learn this. I wrote a 10-page paper about it. Anyway, but yeah, now that we have our tracks looking like this, let's go back over to our big track, right? I'm gonna hide these. What's the advantage of using one program over another? Like Logic, Ableton, Pro Tools? Yeah, great question. We'll take a break. We'll take a brain break here for a few seconds to answer this question. So Logic is technically, I'll put it this way. Logic is the songwriter's tool. Ableton is the live performer's tool. And Pro Tools is the recording musician's tool. Pro Tools is used in most studios around the world, and it's pretty much the industry standard just because it works so well with stems. You can do so much more with audio stems in Pro Tools, okay? And that's just because it's an audio, I mean, you can do MIDI, you can record MIDI like computer instruments on Pro Tools, but for the most part, it's an audio cutting tool. It lets you cut audio, it lets you put plugins in there. It's really streamlined to use stems only, no MIDI. Logic is audio and MIDI. So it lets you create instruments and bring audio in. It's the most streamlined. It lets you create a final product the fastest. So you don't have to have professional microphones. Also, I will say this, Pro Tools hooks up to large boards way easier than it hooks up to small boards. Well, no, I'm sorry, than Logic does. Yeah. Pro Tools hooks up to large boards, so like 60 channel boards. If you took a Berklee tour, Melissa, I know you did take a Berklee tour. You saw the 60 channel board. Now, that hooks up to Pro Tools excellently. Logic, not so much. Logic's kind of like, I have a bedroom setup, audio interface, plug it in. It's all plug and play. It's just like those old, Nintendo Wii, GameCube, blah, blah, blah. You just plug it in, boom, you're playing. And then Ableton is like the live performer. There's a lot of sequencing that goes in with Ableton. Jacob's talking about it in the chat with Dom. Vertical mode. Basically, you'd press a button in their vertical mode, and it would play a loop over and over and over until you press a button on your MIDI keyboard, and it'd change the loop. So this is how you see DJs and electronic production, electronic musicians. They're always sequencing something. They have loops pre-synced in Ableton, and it's sort of like that streamlined, I press a button, and a song starts playing. It's not really good for writing and production, but a lot of people use it. A lot of lo-fi, electronic production, dubstep. It's kind of done there. Ryan uses Studio One. Great choice. Because now you're going to a school where you're going to learn the industry standards. You're just going to be an inch above, understanding, hey, I know what this looks like. I know what this is supposed to do, right? If you have the knowledge of a digital audio workstation, you just have to learn how to do it in different ways. It's like learning a new language, but you know most of the words. What do film composers usually use? Great question. I don't even know if I still have the program. I don't. It's a program called Digital Performer, and they also use Logic, and they also use Sibelius and Finale, honestly. In film scoring, you're going to learn how to use your own MIDI instrument and libraries. So you might not ever need to use Logic, but most students will. It's the easiest one to look at. But I will say, with film scoring students, they like to use Digital Performer because it aligns the clicks, the click tracks to your, I forget what they call them. Oh, that word. But, when it flashes on the screen. Your cues, right? I don't know. But yeah, Digital Performer is used in a live setting so you could see what measure you're on and stuff. They use them in pit orchestras. But yeah, what you can do is in Finale and Sibelius, when you write a violin part, you can choose to use something other than Finale's basic violin sound, right? You can sync it up to this thing called Vienna Symphonic Library, the Vienna Symphonic. Their orchestra recorded the most amazing digital instrument. So you can just sit on a piano and you're playing a violin and it sounds legit like a violin. You're going to learn how to sync that to Sibelius, and MIDI will kind of be done there. But you're going to learn both. Logic, a little bit of Digital Performer, and of course, you're going to learn Finale and Sibelius. Okay, so that's our brain break. Let's get going. I think I answered all of the questions here. Yeah. Okay, let's keep it rolling. So now that we have our stem set up, let's start getting into the mixing stage, right? Listen to it once more. In fact, I'm going to just focus on the vocal because I think vocals is the hardest part in mixing.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need this to make it.
Now, mixing is not hard if the musicians are good. This is going to be the hardest song you've ever mixed, if you catch my drift. Truth is, I think I mentioned, this weekend. I was collaborating with 2 musicians this weekend. And the first thing I told them once I was mixing it was, mixing is so easy when musicians just do it right. So basically, what we're supposed to say is if a vocalist knows how to sing and doesn't make too many errors and can find their pitch easily, it will be easier to hear when it's good or when it's bad, when we can make some edits. So let's just go to the vocal track. And everybody has their own vocal chain. Big words. Jacob, you're going to like this. It's just big words. Vocal chain, or just chains, mixing chains. Basically, it's the order of edits you make, right? So over here, we're going to go to our left side, and we're going to look at the vocal chain. Audio effects, right? That's kind of where we start with our vocal chain, or the mixing chain, I'm sorry. We're going to start with an EQ. It's always, I think, pretty much standard. Everybody starts with an EQ. And this is just to knock out frequencies that you don't want. I'll make this larger for everybody to see. But this is, we're going to have to listen to my voice quite a bit. I know, I hate it just as much as you do. But,
what you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need this to make it.
Okay, an EQ is an equalizer. And it lets you set what frequencies you want to hear louder than the others, in other words. It basically allows you to eliminate frequencies you don't want to hear and boost frequencies you do want to hear. Frequencies are just everything we hear ever. You're always hearing a mixture of frequencies. Let me see if I can show you my talking frequencies like right now. I think I could do this. Input 1. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me show you how I'm talking right now. Gotta get this mic out. Okay. Now, here's another important thing to know. As I'm going to tell you this fun fact, you can look at what frequencies I'm speaking at, okay? Notice a lot. I'm a male voice. It's a male voice. It's going to be really in the middle, right where that green is highlighting right now. That's where a lot of the male vocal cords, resonate.
This is a mess. I should just shorten the... I know everything about computers, but nothing about... Okay, but watch. I'm going to minimize this part of my voice, and what happens to it? It kind of starts sounding like a robot, or, you know, now I sound... only the high parts of my voice are coming out here, right? But then I bring this back in, and I'm all low again, right? So that's just showing you my voice. But here's the thing. See these things? These things called microphones? They all pick up different frequencies. They all pick up different frequencies, right? So no one equalizer is going to be exactly right. However, logic believes that they have mastered it. You can go to your library over here and choose what type of voice you're using. And it has a lot of presets. So if you want a bright voice, it'll just, look at that vocal chain right there. Look at that mixing chain. That is busy. That's very busy. But it already has reverb. That's so nice. And it already cuts out the low frequencies. We'll talk about frequencies in a second. Another nice thing, that is if you use a Logic preset, which is in your library, you just click on library and then you pick what vocal track you want, right? I want it to sound warm. Ew. I want it to sound natural. I want it to sound rough. Rah. I want it to sound super compressed so I can write a dance song. Super compressed as well. We'll talk about compression. Tube. Tracking. See, it'll let you do all these things, right? There's a lot of reverb, just to show you an example. But then you'll have this at the bottom. There's 3 little settings you can choose here. But this one, choose the one that looks like a controller, and then it tells you. It's the most easy thing. This reminds you of GarageBand, right? You can turn down the reverb, you can turn down the ambience, and it's gone. You can turn down the warmth, which is just a stereo delay. It's just a sample delay. Anyway, you turn that off. You turn the EQ off, and then you're back to normal. Turn the compressor way up, you know. So you could just use that if you want to. It's up to you. But here's how I do it. I'll just give you a little example. Okay, we start with, let's go back up to our voice, vocal track. We start with channel EQ. Thank you, Jacob, for answering the question. Does it let you alter the partials? Yeah, so if you're talking about like the harmonic series and each note, like if I sing a note, actually, let's do that. Oh, I turned it off. Dang it. Let's see if I can play or sing the most solid note. Nope, not working. Oh my gosh, I'm a mess. Nope. Wow. There we go. Okay, so I think that's what Chloe's talking about here. Let's see if we can do it under trumpet too. Boy, if I knew what note I just sang. Okay, so you see that? You'd think Nico just played one note. Ryan has perfect pitch. Okay, you'd think Nico just played one note. I should only see one frequency. Nope. That's not how audio works. It wouldn't be fun if it worked that way. So that's what frequencies are. When you hear one note, you're hearing actually a multitude of frequencies. You hear the notes, like let's say A. A is frequency 440, right? So let me drag my little dot over to 440. That's 440A. That's what people tune to, right? That's what a lot of musicians tune to. We can bring that up in the mix, but that means every time
it senses anything that's an A, it's going to make it real loud. But yeah, it's part of the harmonic series. That's way too extra for us. But yeah, anyway, let's just talk about getting the vocal track. Let's listen to it, and I'll teach you how to use the equalizer.
What you want, I can give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need this to make it.
Okay, so let's think about my voice and what parts we need to hear and what parts we don't need to hear. These are what we call EQ bands. They look like rubber bands, right? So we can choose which frequencies we want to hear more of and less of. Now this is a parametric, I think this is a parametric channel EQ. I think they're all the same. But this allows you to boost the bands by dragging them up and down. Now watch what happens. We're just going to listen to the vocal track if I boost the low frequencies. Oops.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need this.
It got really muddy, right? Now what happens when we boost the real low frequencies? These are like bass notes, right? Real low. Oh.
What you want, I can't give.
Hey,
Put
nothing.
on the mask just to live.
A little bit of mud.
What you got is what you get. I don't need.
All I'm doing is dragging the mouse and boosting frequencies, right? This is actually how a lot of the pros do it. I'm no pro. You don't have to do everything I do, but you boost the frequencies to hear what sounds bad.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask.
But you realize that when we analyze it, nothing's even showing up down here. And Jacob was right. Low pass and high pass filters. There are ways we could just get rid of anything. So what if, while I was singing, somebody in the background was playing, what if Jacob was playing the bass real low? Then you'd hear those things in the background. You can technically get rid of them using this low pass filter. Okay? So you can click this one on and say, look, my voice is never going to go over 100 or under 100. I know my notes do not go that low as a vocalist. A lot of female vocalists will never reach this level. But it gives you some body to your voice too. So let's think about it. Yeah, honestly, I think the best thing to do is screw around. Dominic's absolutely right. That's how I learned. I'll be the first to admit that at that college I went to, I didn't learn much about this stuff. I just didn't choose the right classes. But if you choose the right classes, then you will learn about this stuff. But anyway, yeah, I didn't get into this. But anyway, I learned it on my own. Yes, Dom, speaking the truth. Can I pin that? It's pinned. I don't even think it works on my phone. Yeah, it is. It's pinned. How about that? It's always a good idea to mess around with things yourself because that's a good way to learn. Moral of the story tonight. Thank you, Dom. Dom, you should be motivational Dom this week. I should give you a moment. Send me a quote, a direct message or something. I think that would be hilarious. Anyway, so yeah, here's what we'll do. Let's just cut out these frequencies. I can teach you real quick what the bottom does. This, you can always just drag these left and right too. But I like to drag the dots. It's a lot easier. All right. This tells you how much the rubber band moves, right? Do you want it to be really tight or do you want it to kind of be like, hey, make this softer? And you realize what's happening here. I hope this makes sense to people. This is just saying, hey, when it's this low, or trying to think of the best way to explain this. This middle line, right? This line in the middle is like normal audio. Let's push that audio down. And let's do it fast. That's kind of what's happening here. You can drag these around and we'll say, look, anything at 20 hertz right now, the frequency 20 hertz, we will hear none of it. Because look, that's way at the bottom, right? Now 40, we'll only hear a little bit of it. That's how much we'll hear of it. 60, this is how much we'll hear of it. 100, we'll hear this much of it. And right now, we're hearing all of the frequencies at an equal level here. That's why it's equalizer, right? We can balance what's too loud. Equalizer. Okay? So now, just real quick, I'm going to show you. I highly recommend you mess around with this on your own. See what makes your voice sound good. But I'm going to give you my tips. Mud on a voice sounds like right here, right? 200 to 600 about.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just.
Doesn't it sound like I'm singing into like a styrofoam cup? So my method with EQ, equalizing, is to boost it. So drag it up.
What you want, I can't give.
That sounds horrible. What do? Well, let's just drag it below now. Let's push it down. Let's make sure we don't hear that much of it.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get.
Now, we call this subtractive EQ. Because, right, we're subtracting the amount of noise. Where do the low frequencies come from? Well, from low notes. And the lower you go, I mean, low frequencies are the most resonant, believe it or not. The highest and lowest frequencies are the most resonant. And yeah, so we want to hide those when it comes to a voice because truthfully, your voice, your vocal range, it's analyzing it right now. It's from like right about at 200 all the way up to like 6K. But if we take away this top end, we won't hear all, like it sounds like I'll have a lisp, which is okay.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need this.
We call this sibilance. Sibilance, big words. Oh my gosh. These are all really... So yeah, great question. Are there low partials? No, I don't know because it's wavelengths. Remember, these are waves. If a wave's going at a certain speed, it's not going to resonate. I don't believe. No, I could be wrong. I don't know. Chloe, you're asking all the hard questions. I don't believe there's lower harmonics. Upper harmonics, I think. Yes, dragging it above the line increases the sound. Dragging below lessens. Yes. But here's the deal. You don't want to drag this low. You don't want to drag super low because that's taking away from the vocal. Your voice should sound natural. You don't want to make it sound weird unless that's an effect. So this is what we call subtractive EQ. We don't boost anything. We just get rid of the frequencies that we don't want, and we choose how much of those frequencies that we get rid of.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live.
Ooh, that's a lot of mud.
What you got is what you get.
Subtract it. Then we go to the next dot. Ooh, you could drag these to choose how much of that frequency. Like this is like a needle, right? At 222 hertz, we're pulling it down. But this kind of gets all of them around it too. The green one. The colors don't mean anything. They're just good for you to see. Let's look at something up here.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live.
Okay, so here's a fun fact. 300 to 500, that's where a lot of the room noise is going to be. If you're singing in your bedroom, first of all, you should have a carpet or something or a clothes. Sing in your closet, right? You want to make it so that the audio track doesn't have any echoes, claps, rhythms, anything in the background, right? We don't want any walls collecting noise and bouncing it into the microphone. So if you sing with a padded surrounding, like a studio, or your closet, or blankets or pillows around you, it'll really dampen the resonance. Now this gets rid of like room noise if you have it. So we'll duck that a little bit.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get.
Okay? Now 1K to 3K, at least for my voice, that's where I really shine.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need.
If we get rid of that, that just starts to make it sound like we got rid of the most important part, right? That's where I hear most of my notes. Da, ba, ba, da, ba, ba, ba. No, those notes are frequencies, and they all show up right where this is going right now. So we should probably keep that. And we can boost it a little bit, but subtractive EQ mainly subtracts, right? It gets rid of things. Rid of things we don't want. And then finally, we could talk about the top, but for the most part, this is what you want.
And a lot of people like to boost a little bit to make it sound really shiny and bright. You could brighten up these, but no voice goes to 10K or 20K. I mean, naturally it does, but
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mat.
sounds like crispy chicken sandwich. Nope, we're just gonna add a little bit of it. And then this right, oop, nope, we wanna make that a little less.
What you want, I can't.
This is where, you know, maybe sometimes you hear people singing, it's like, that hurts my ears. It's because these things are super high, the 2Ks to 6Ks.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need this to make it.
Okay, so real quick,
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live.
these sound like whistles, and this kind of sounds like air.
What you want, I can't give.
I can hear fuzz, right? So you could duck the fuzz,
What you want, I can't give.
or
What you want, I can't give.
get rid of the whistles. So you really have your choice with these. I'm gonna get rid of the air.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live.
And now we'll boost it a little bit. You can always bring up the EQ here, but we're not gonna do that. I don't like to do this. Don't control your vocals, your gain from here, but just for demonstration.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need this to make it. They can try and take me down just so they can rule this town.
Doesn't it sound a little cleaner? All right. Pro tip, just so we can move on to the next part and then finish up because I don't want to keep you longer than an hour. You can always just click on factory default, roll down to voice, and whoa, Logic already has presets for us. And they look pretty much the same except that one. But see, this is a poor job. Poor job, Logic. Very poor job. Now that one sort of looks like what we did, right? Soften lead vocals. But really, for now, you can use presets for now, but someday you'll be able to do that EQ. You know, Dom, aw, you have class? I'm so sorry. But yeah, I'm gonna undo all this that I messed around. I'm gonna get to our main. Okay, that's where we were. No, that's not where we were. That's where we were. What did I do with that? Oh, I didn't do anything with it. Okay, we'll keep it. All right, and then the next step, look, I'm just going to keep this super fast for you. Compressor. You choose a compressor, and you can actually add a compressor by just clicking that little line above the EQ. Logic's telling us these are the two most important things you can add to your track. Okay? Dominic's graduating tonight. Hands for Dominic. Hearts in the chat. Hearts in the chat. Okay, compressor. So, a compressor it's sort of just like what an EQ did, but it does it automatically. It takes all noise above a certain threshold, a certain volume, and it brings it down. And then anything that's below that frequency, you can choose to bring it up. So you get to choose the volume, and anything that goes above that volume, nope, we got to bring it down to here. Now, in pop music, pop vocals, this is the thing. Everybody uses compression. And that's why it just always sounds loud, and that's why pop music gets a bad rep, because there's no dynamic range, right? There's no loud parts and soft parts. It's just right in your face. But for the most part, with compressors, we're going to be able to take our vocal, anything that goes above a certain volume, bring it down, and then bring the rest of it up to make it sound normal. So let's look at mine. These are very hard to explain, so I am going to let a picture do it for me. If you really want to learn stuff about mixing, Musician on a Mission, look it up, Musician on a Mission. It is an amazing website, great resources, and it makes it so easy to understand. But this is exactly what we just saw. Look, I can even show you left to right. I think it's a little hard to read though on your screens, but actually not half bad. Okay, but look, we have a threshold, a ratio, makeup, knee, attack,
and release. So the threshold. The threshold is what level we're going to start taking frequencies. Anything that goes above that frequency, we're going to bring it down. So we get to decide how loud we want to bring it down. You know, like anything above that frequency, nope, we got to bring it down to here. So let's just listen to the track. And this is how everybody does it. You have to listen to your track.
What you want, I can't.
To decide how loud you want it to be. Now, once again, nobody knows decibels off the top of your head.
What you want,
Oh yeah, that's negative 20 decibels. Nobody knows the volume of things. Well, maybe. I don't know. It's not like relative or perfect decibel, perfect volume. Nobody has that. But
what you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need this.
so basically what we're saying here is anytime it goes above, I don't know, maybe let's say this much.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what.
Okay? I didn't explain decibels yet, but let's just look at, let me make this larger. This is going to take forever, people. I'm sorry. I don't want to waste your night, but I'm having sort of fun explaining this. So decibels work backwards, right? You go from, it's just like golf, negative all the way up to net zero. Equity. I forget what they call that. Somebody in the chat, tell me what it means, or what that word is. I forget. Zero, equilibrium, maybe equilibrium, zero. But basically, we don't want to go above zero. You know, in open mic night, and this is not a critique, it's just Nico trying to help you. Sometimes I can't change the audio. It sounds like it starts to get real crunchy and loud, and it hurts your ears. That's because it's called clipping. Audio clips. Basically, it takes off the top of that frequency and it just cuts it off because it's too loud. It's just blaringly loud. And that happens to some of your voices when you sing real close to the microphone, right? I have a compressor, so it wouldn't let me do that. But it clips where I start to sound all crunchy. Well, we don't want that to happen, so we always want to stay below zero. But
what you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live.
See, I'm at negative 18 here. Negative 18 decibels. That's where my voice kind of stops. That's where it caps. Now let's say we say, I don't know, anything above negative 18. We don't want it to be louder. So let's select it. Look, we're going to go down here.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need.
See how that needle barely moves? It's saying, hey, Nico, I'm not ducking anything. I'm not getting rid of any frequencies. Hardly anything. But let's set it a little lower, right? See where I am over here? Let's set it to 24. Let's say I don't want anything going louder than 24.
What you want,
now it's moving a lot.
Put on the
and pop vocals, which maybe if you're writing a pop song, you know what they do? They say, yeah, let's make all of those loud frequencies down and then we're going to boost it.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What?
Okay. Well, let's just set it right around here. Now the ratio, good thing to do here is pull up the graph. The graph will show you your ratio.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live.
Now with vocals, everybody's always told me, never go above 3. But I can tell you what this number means. Did you learn ratios in high school? I sure did. Oops, I'm screwing up a lot of the knobs here. But anyway, basically it's saying for every 3 decibels above the number we selected, every 3 decibels above that number, we're going to duck it. We're going to bring it down, okay? And then you'll see in the graph there how much it's actually getting rid of. So this 1-to-1 means, Nico, what you get, what you see is what you get. 1-to-1. Yep, 1-to-1. But let's say for every 2 that you have, I'm going to make it 1. 1-to-1, so this is ratios. So your track is this loud, 1-to-1 ratio. Yep, I'm going to make it that loud. Okay, your track is too loud. Your track is too loud. Your track is too loud? Yeah, I'm going to make it 1. Does this make sense? Your track is 30 loud? I'm going to make it 1. You don't want to do that to a voice. You don't want to do that to a voice. So voices usually stay around 2 to 3, sometimes up to 4, but I hope that makes sense. You really don't have to understand that. You just need to use it correctly. So always stay around like above 1 and under 4, okay? So we're just going to go with like about 2.7 here.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live.
In fact, I'm going to, just for demonstration, bring this up actually quite a bit.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need this to make it.
Okay. And then finally, you could choose attack and release. Attack. Okay, so this is moral of the story. Everywhere you go in life, any instrument you use, there's an attack time and a release time. An attack means how fast it kicks in. Nico, it got loud. I'm jumping on it. I'm going to bring it down. All right? I'm going to bring it down. That's a fast attack time. But maybe we make a slow attack time. Yo, this is too loud. I'm getting there. I'll bring it down. Wait for me. Shh. All right? So let's choose, in pop, they use a fast attack time. They say, as soon as it gets louder, let's bring it down. So let's just choose something pretty standard. I'd say right around like 10 milliseconds. It's hard to notice any of this. The release, though. The release says how long I'm going to be compressing even after it's not that loud. This page, Musician on a Mission, this really explains it well. So I highly recommend going to look at that after. Just look it up, Musician on a Mission. So the higher number and ratio, the more compression. Yeah. What it's saying is, and I hope this made sense. If the ratio is 1:1, basically it's saying, here's your original track at 1. I'm going to make it sound just like the original track. Okay, your vocal track is 2 decibels louder. Now I'm going to make it sound like 1. Your decibels 30 larger. Like this sounds 30 times larger. No, I'm going to make it sound like 1. So yeah, it does make it lower. I'm sorry, I have to check my phone here real quick, and this is not helping you. I know, I'm sorry. Okay. Hold on, people. Okay, and then finally, we're going to go over to reverb. People, I'm going to cry. I want to cry. I want to cry. Sorry. Okay. So, once our compression's done, the next thing we want to do, first of all, turn off auto gain. That's like one of the most important things.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask.
And then the final step will be adding a reverb, right?
I don't need this to make it. They can try and take me down just so they can rule this town. I may not be a great fit. I don't need this to make it. What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is...
Okay, so now that we've heard that, let's make it sound good. And what we have to do is bring it to right around here. You never want your vocal tracks to go above 0. Let's just bring it right around to -3, okay? So what we'll do is use this like a regular volume knob. This output over here.
I can't give. Put on the mask just to...
However, audio gain just automatically boosts your frequency like by 12 decibel intervals. So let's just choose -12, okay? So let's keep it there.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need this to make it. They can try.
But notice how, see at the top, -3 here? That's kind of where things top off. That's where you always want it to be. You never want it to hit 0 because that's already saying, Nico, you're going to sing louder than this sometime and it's going to clip. So keep it right around
What
-3.
you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what...
Or less. It's always good to have a little less because then you have some headroom for mastering. Okay, and then finally, reverb. Most people would think, oh, Nico, let's just add it on the chain. No, don't do that, because that muddies everything up. But what you can do is click right below compressor over here, and then scroll down and you'll see all the effects you can add. I go down to reverb, and then you could choose from their reverbs. I like to use Space Designer. That's probably my favorite, but you can pick your own reverb and learn, but we're gonna use Space Designer today. And for the most part, you can always use a factory default, or one of their templates. For, I think input is the volume levels and signals before the compressor, and output, yes! Jacob gets the point of the day. Holy smokes, yes, he nailed it. Yeah, input gain, and then when we messed with that bottom right knob, that was saying after the compression, what is it gonna sound like? So input, you don't want to boost that, just keep that normal. Output, yep, I want to make it sound right. So, finally, if we add reverb directly to the track, it can get really, really weird. I'll show you. This is my favorite one, cave drums.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you.
That sounds great.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to.
Do you ever listen to somebody's recording and you're like, wow, that sounds like they're in an echoey room, but I know they're right in their bedroom on their bed. They're using too much reverb. So what we can do is, instead of adding it right here, we can actually send it. So we can say, hey, my voice, I want to send it somewhere. I want to send it to a cave. I want to send it to a studio. I want to send it to a football stadium. I want to send it to a library. You can do that by sending your vocal track to one of our sends. So what we'll do is we'll click on send, go down to bus. We're going to put, oh God, this is so many analogies. I hope everybody's with me. All right, we with me? Everybody with me? Because we're going to finish up here. I'm going to go eat dinner soon. But let's put our voice, our vocalist, on the bus. And that bus is going to the library. All right? Or let's say that bus is going to the studio. Let's get it on the first bus. Why not? All right? And then your first bus shows up right here. You can double click aux 1 and name it. Hey, I'm going to name this the studio reverb. Okay? We want to send our bus to get some reverb at the studio. So let's make sure the studio has reverb. We'll go to audio effects just like normal. And then go to pitch, or reverb, and we'll select a stereo. Dual mono, stereo, you want everything to sound in 2 years. But a bass, you want to sound mono. One microphone, you want it to sound mono. But a voice, we want to hear in both ears. All right? So then, let's pick a reverb. Let's use small spaces. Let's do rooms. And let's do, I don't know, recording room? Sure. Another great thing you can do, go over to your library and just pick a template. We can go into, hold on, let me find it. No, I'm doing this all wrong. Yeah, I did this all wrong. Okay, instead of going to library, we could just click on setting. First of all, make sure you're working with the aux track down here. You might have to refresh the page, Chloe. Oh, okay. Well, here, I'm going to teach you. Let's, instead of clicking this right here, let's actually click the mixer button, okay? And now that we've made our bus over here, I don't know if you missed this, Chloe, but now that we've made our bus, which is right here on the left, it's going to show up in our mixer. So you want to click on the little mixing buttons up there, and it'll look up over here. It should say aux 1. We're going to rename that to reverb. And then click on setting, and it'll let you pick your own effects. Multi-effects, reverb. Uh-oh, some people are lost. Okay, let's go back to normal. Let's go back to square one. I'm going to pull up my mixer here. Okay? instead of adding reverb right to the track, we don't want to do that. I don't think that's a good idea to add reverb right to your track unless it's an effect. Instead, we're going to send it on a bus. A bus, busing is another word for patch, another word for I'm going to take one signal and I'm going to move it and let it play somewhere else too. So you click this little bus, right, or send below, right? Click the send button and send it to your first bus. We're going to name that bus reverb. It shows up in your mixer down here. I'll demonstrate. Hold on. So we're going to add a bus, send it to bus 1, and that bus 1 shows up right here. If you click setting and then pick a reverb, go ahead and pick one. But I think a good idea would go to multi-effects and choose Motown reverb. It just seems to work the best for me. And remember, we don't want too much reverb and we don't want too less reverb. We want just enough. It's the thing that we need to master. So how do we do that? You go back to your vocal track, which is right here or over on the left, remember, and you just start adding a little bit. See this little knob here? What you could do is click on it, hold, and then push up. That increases the volume. And then drag it back down, and it decreases the volume. Okay? Jacob! My hero. Bus equals patch equals send equals aux. They kind of all mean the same thing. Patch, not so much. Patch is a multi-use term. But yeah, let's increase a little bit reverb, and I'll show you what we're doing here.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask.
See? Too much. Way too much. But let's bring it back a little bit. Let's just add a tiny bit. See? That's not much.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live.
That sounds pretty good. What do you think?
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live.
Thoughts? Good? Okay. Now, finally, what you want to do is go back, make sure you're not soloing any tracks, and then start doing your levels.
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live. What you got is what you get. I don't need this to make it. They can try and take me down. Just so.
All right, so that's kind of okay. We didn't EQ any of the other instruments. I thought we were going to, but maybe for another week. Maybe we'll focus on bass next week. Hi-hat, keys. We can do this every Monday if you want, but that's up to you. I think everybody would like to, being that you might, I don't know. I don't know what classes in the fall will be like, but I know you won't learn this until your second year at Berkeley. So maybe I could give you a head start so you can start recording more. So anyway, one last tip on vocals. And this is, I'm going to make this as quick as possible for you. Yeah, it's actually one of my favorite chord progressions that I wrote. It's easy. But anyway, vocals, you want them to sound kind of like all around you. And you don't want it to sound like 3 people are singing. You kind of want to make it sound like one person singing, but I can hear it all around me. That's the magic of producing vocals. So what we'll do is duplicate the tracks. So right next to the add a track button, you can duplicate a track. And let's do that twice, okay? Finally, let's go to our vocal track here, select it. Okay, here we go. I don't know, we're all using Macs if we're using this, but what I like to do is, I think I hold, what do I hold? Option? Yep, I hold Option, and then I drag my vocal track down. I just copied one of those vocal tracks, and I'm going to do it again. And now I have 3 vocal tracks. Watch how loud this gets.
What you want,
That's not balanced. But this is a good technique that people use to make audio or vocals sound surround sound. Kind of like it sounds good, right? This is what I do, And you can do this as much as you want. This is what the pros do. They double their voice. They double their triple, their quadruple their voice until it sounds good. But let's keep one in the middle, right? So there you are, Chloe, you're standing in the middle. And then we want two other Chloes to back you up so I can hear Chloe all around. So let's go to our first track that we copied, right? First of all, bring down the volume. Almost like minimal, right? And let's make this Chloe on the left. So use your pan, drag over to the left. Let's make this Chloe come from the left side. Now let's make the other Chloe come to the right side of our ear. And now,
What you want, I can't give. Put on the mask just to live.